It has, like, the most immersive thing that we do. The most immersive experience that humans do is sex. That uses all your senses.
Yep.
You understand me?
1000%.
And if you can make education and stimulating your sex closely to it, you understand me? Like, the details get in there.
Albert Einsteins in one generation.
Yeah. Cause now, I mean, look, they trying to, Zuckerberg trying to do the haptic suits. They trying to do things that connect to your senses, the whole nine.
Welcome to another episode of Cheat Code Unlocked, man. Today we got the most special guest on here to this day. Prolific guest.
Man, I appreciate that.
This is 19 Keys, man.
I appreciate y'all platform. Appreciate y'all hosting me here, man. Definitely. I'm ready to drop some keys.
Yeah.
Whatever subject y'all want to get into, man. Right. I just want the people to get some value and get some cheat codes.
100%, man. I know you're in the metaverse space, you're in the crypto space, NFTs.
Yeah.
You've been a thought leader.
So let me ask you this, bro, just to kind of kick it off a little bit, man. How'd you get into the metaverse space, into the crypto space, and what kind of piqued your interest? I know a lot of people out there, if you're hearing about it, they're seeing it, but what was it that really kind of made you take that leap into?
Right.
Well, I'm always been a futurist, man, a visionary, man. I got this thing where I already live in the future. You understand me? I'm not really waiting for it to be built out or to be validated. You understand me? I'm already thinking of the concepts that come along with it. So ever since I was younger, we've been into like virtual reality since we was children, going to the arcade and they had them big ass headsets. Right. You understand me? And so I always knew it was gonna be a time where that technology would come again. You understand me? And then it'd be something that will become a new industry, right? It's just the evolution.
What I want to do is I want to head downstairs, bro, so we can actually dive deeper into this whole conversation, man. Because, I mean, my mind's spinning already.
Right,
yes,
right. I got 1,000,001 questions, man. Let's do it.
Let's get to it then.
All right, bro. So listen, man, what you just dropped upstairs was heavy on me, man. So my main question to you, kind of spinning off of what you said upstairs, being able to utilize the blockchain, utilize Web3, the metaverse and crypto in order to establish new business models or incorporate into the business model for entrepreneurs today. How do you see that? Like, can you give us some examples of how a typical entrepreneur in the space today, could utilize some aspects of the blockchain and metaverse into their current business model in order to take advantage of, what's happening in that space? Yeah,
first of all, I want to thank y'all for having me on the show again, man. I appreciate y'all platform and just hosting this type of conversation.
Right.
I mean, it's so many different dimensions and directions you can go with. I think what we've seen during the COVID area is everybody start to go virtual. Mm-hmm. You understand me? If you try to go look at a therapist or a Reiki healer or a psychologist, whoever it is, they started to have these consultations and these things that usually required you to be in physical space. Mm-hmm. Now they went virtual, but the virtual kind of suck. Mm-hmm. You understand me? Right. You got your therapist and you talking to them on Zoom. That experience is not the same as you being in person and having that connection.
Right.
So the metaverse allows you to extend that, right, and make it more immersive so that the experience is closer to the experience and how it would be as you was in person with them.
Right.
Same thing with education, right? We seen classes having to be on the computer. These children don't want to pay attention to that. Right. There's a statistic model that say that you actually have better learning when your senses are more immersed in the virtual experience. So, I mean, just right there, you're talking about something huge. Anytime you're talking to a professional on the other end and it's something concerning your money or your business and your health and your life, I would rather have a more immersive experience rather than talking to them on the phone or talking to them on a computer, right? Or and just staring at a screen. Right. So now it allows you to have those same office meetings, those same community meetings, those same consultant meetings in person with a person almost, right? Because if I put on these glasses and you pop up as a hologram, it feels like you're in my space. Like I have proximity to you right now. Right. So I'm interacting with a whole being. right, instead of a picture or a video screen.
Right.
So just on that one end, immersion and experience is key, right? Because the experience economy is growing even bigger and bigger and bigger.
That's one key
You
right there.
understand me?
Y'all keep count.
Yeah, focus on the experience economy. I at the beginning of this pandemic, right? I take that time. Anytime something huge happens, anytime there's a pandemic, it's a worldwide paradigm shift, right? And you know, Bob Proctor just died, and he was like the father of speaking behind paradigm shifts, right? Mentally and the ones that happen throughout society. And when we talk about paradigm shifts, we're talking about the changes that occur in our habits, the ways that we see the world, the way that the world function, right? And there's certain things that had to happen in order for a true paradigm shift to happen. Number one, you stop questioning whether we're in it, and you realize that it already occurred and it took place.
Yeah, 100%.
Right. And so we're in the middle of this paradigm shift after this huge pandemic, and most people don't realize because it just happened and we still in it, right? How important that is. Anytime a global thing happens, it changes the world after that. Anything that the whole world views at once or it takes place at once, the world is not the same that moment, right? It's impossible. The effect is going to be changed.
Right.
So you're talking about a harmonic convergence of effective events. So I automatically knew that there was going to be certain things that were going to shift and change. And I wanted to see what was those things that were going to change, right? Like society has become more germaphobe than ever, right? So I knew that even the era of sanitation was going to change, right? The era of health, people became more health conscious more than ever, right? To where, I mean, we seen what happened with Peloton during it. We seen what happened with Zoom, right? Those particular type of stocks went up for a reason because people started to use them more than ever because those areas of life people became more conscious of. And so, but now, what we realize is that we use those tools, but those tools were not retrofitted for that experience, right? Like those tools maxed out their use, right? Because we were forced to use those tools because those was the best there for us at the time. And it probably wasn't even the best technology, but it had the most users, right? It was the easiest idea to get into. Like, well, we need to exercise at home. Well, shoot, let's get a bike at home. You can't go to the gym. So it forces us.
It's funny because that's actually something that we've been talking about a lot. You know, for all my traders out there, you know, this is what Keys is talking about right now is situational awareness, market awareness, right? Understanding what's happening in the market as a whole, the financial market, and in the world around you. You know, understanding where you are in that market cycle during the COVID times, like that paradigm shift that he was talking about. If you had been thoughtful enough to recognize it early, you could put yourself in a position to win. Again, another cheat code to being able to beat the market, right? We have to, like you said upstairs, we have to put ourselves in a position to win excessively in order to even catch up to close any type of gap. And so touching back on what you were saying, you know, just a couple minutes ago about the education experience, is interestingly enough, you know, we've been talking to an amazing sister who got a metaverse platform on her, that she's already developed called Stimuli. And it's an educational metaverse, essentially, where if you think of same way Decentraland or any other metaverses are built out, you can actually purchase squares of land, build your building on it to create your own school on that platform. And they've gamified the user experience for the kids. So when a kid comes into either a private school, public school, or even like, let's say a Google or any of the other companies that have their own educational platforms in there, everything is gamified. So the kids can go down, interact with the teacher, not outside of a classroom environment. The teacher can say, hey, your assignment is to go learn about 5 frogs, right? And then send the kid down to the lake in the metaverse, and the kid goes down to the lake, watches some National Geographic videos on these frogs, comes back, answers the questions to the teacher. They earn their points or their coins, right? And those coins allows them to upgrade their avatar and do little cool things within that metaverse.
Yeah, that's dope.
So it's one of the most, that was when I heard her explain how that whole thing worked, I was like, man, this is a massive paradigm shift.
That's a $1 billion industry.
Exactly. You look at even the United States versus somebody like China, right? Though I feel like, you know, our educational experience, the reason why we are falling behind as a nation educationally is because our kids are not hardwired to sit down in one place and learn, especially Black kids. We are much more hands-on, much more interactive, much more engaged, right, learners. And so the metaverse is, like you said, is an amazing way to flip that on its head, make education fun, right?
Right.
And now, as you saying that in this conversation, I'm thinking to myself, we have an educational platform.
Right.
You know, we even being in the forefront of the investment space here, we haven't even utilized, you know, this metaverse and the different things inside of it to accommodate our stuff. So
it's the attention economy. You understand me? It's like, how can everybody is vying and fighting for your attention? We fighting for our own students' attention, trying to get them to, you know, take in the information and the data that we giving them. But then we fighting against the algorithms.
Yeah.
We got social media, we got YouTube, we got Instagram, we got TikTok, Snapchat. You know, they just got back in the game.
Right.
but they did some things up there, man.
They did some numbers, man.
Yeah, you got Sony, you understand me, Microsoft. All of these people are lobbying for that attention on a daily basis, right? And whoever wins. Data and attention is the key. So now, not only do we have to make the experience of people that pay to give us their attention so they can get educated, we have to make sure that they actually learn. Because we know for a fact that, you know, and the data always shows that, you know, 90% of the people who buy the courses don't actually go
Finish
through
them. 9 times out of 10,
So making that experience more immersive, we get to change those numbers. Because we get the benefit of getting the profit of people that want to tap in because they know the information is valuable. But then the better benefit is the testimonials of the students that actually execute based on the information that they receive because of the value that it actually has. So if we can create a better experience that's tailored towards the way that we learn, right, then it'll be easier to allow them to adapt the information and execute it, and now we start seeing more results.
100%.
So it's creating result-driven, immersive experiences.
Man,
you know what's crazy, man? Right now, with all this that we're saying, like, I was just thinking, like, just practicality-wise, like all this talk about the metaverse and, you know, the virtual reality space, there's not been, like, something as aged as the, you know, reading and things like that are not really talked about when it comes to, like, the metaverse. Like, there's not really a lot of reading. Everything that we're talking about as far as user experience is more oratory and also visual, right? Which is crazy because I feel like that's something that our, you know, our culture, we're going to benefit a lot from, because back in the day with our ancestors coming from Ghana and stuff like that, a lot of the stories, any way that information is passed is verbally and visually through, like, you know, written or drawn out, like, you know, carvings or things like that. So I feel like, you know, especially in our culture, we're going to see an exponential growth when it comes to people actually being susceptible to this information.
Right.
Being,
it's going to be so much easier to learn.
Right.
I mean, even when I'm trying to pick up a new subject, I have to stimulate my mind in multiple different ways. I'm going to read it, then I got to watch on it, then I might have to listen to something, I might have to have a conversation.
1,000%.
It has, like, the most immersive thing that we do, the most immersive experience that humans do is sex. That uses all your senses.
Yep.
You understand me?
1,000%.
And if you can make education and stimulating your sex closely to it, you understand me?
We'll
the details get in there.
Albert Einsteins in one generation.
Yeah. Cause now, I mean, look, they trying to, you know, Zuckerberg trying to do the haptic suits. They trying to do things that connect to your senses, the whole nine. But it's like, how much easier would it be just to even teach our story, right? I don't say his story, I say our story, right? Of time where, yes, you want to teach about what's going on in Africa, right? Like, we can talk about the continent all we want to till we blue in the face. Well, we know Africa ain't just tribes and this, that, and the third. There's cities.
Right.
It's not enough until either a person goes there,
see it,
or you can immerse them in the experience.
And and it's funny you said it, man, because the first time I ever put an Oculus on, the first place it took me in the National Geographic thing was like the Incan, you know, pyramids out in Peru. Was the what do you call it, Machu Picchu? Yeah, right. And then Antarctica, stuff like that. But imagine if we had like you know, historical
Mount Afajatu, the Kilimanjaro,
everything,
or even Kemet, to where we see Egypt in our depiction.
Exactly. And now, so now here's my question. Then, you know, and kind of going along those lines is, how does one, you know, an average person, let's say somebody does have the concept to want to develop something like that. You know, we have Web3, we have Metaverse, we have NFTs, right? We have DAOs, all these different things. How does the average person or somebody who wants to achieve something like that, even myself right now, we're talking about, I'm like, damn, if we could create that type of experience, what would be the steps necessary for somebody to develop a project like that? Like, what are the roles that look like?
It's two ways you go. You either hire somebody that already has a skill or learn the skill yourself.
Right.
There's only two things you can do right now. Right? Now, people that have the skills, they're either overstressed or they focus on doing their own thing. You understand me? Or they waiting to work with the right person. Right? So if you got leverage, you can put out the back signal and be like, listen, I want to do this. You got the money. Of course, you can always hire somebody. You got the money.
Right.
But learning the skill sets is key right now. You understand me? So if you want the cheat codes, because right now, there's not enough people that know how to develop Web3. You understand me?
So what is Web3? So we could touch on that. What is Web3 for the average person who does not know?
If you will, Web3 is the back end to blockchain, right? When you go look on NFT and you see somebody that can connect the blockchain to the internet, you understand me? That's the Web3 experience, where you're talking about wallets, right? You're talking about connecting my NFT, and then you got a minting site, right? To where a person go and buy it, and you can control everything on the back end through code, which from what I experience is not that hard, right? It's just another language that you learn, right? So Web3 goes from, being able to own and control more of the internet, essentially, right? What we was able to own in like Web 1, you was able to interact with whatever site there was, but it wasn't that immersive. You couldn't do that much. Then Web 2, you're talking about streaming, you're talking about apps. The App Store allowed creatives to build on the internet, you understand me, and have your intellectual property there. And Web 3 allows you to do the same thing, but you control the data. You understand me? And it becomes decentralized. So instead of you building on somebody's website, and then if that site disappears, it's gone, like Instagram, like any place that we build on now, if that site crashes, everything gone. Web3 is saying that whatever I put on there, it's still owned by me. The site crashes, the data is still in my possession. I can move it onto another platform, right? So Web3 is really allowing people to control their own data and information. And that's really the most important part about it when you're talking about ownership. We've always had that issue with putting our intellectual property on platforms that we don't own. You understand me? And that really changes the whole game.
Yo, listen. If you want to learn about stocks and crypto and Forex and futures, man, make sure y'all tap the link in the description below, man. We got free classes all day, every day. I got to get you this information, man. I don't even care if I get hit by no cars, man. I got to get y'all this information. This is life or death. Free class, link in the bio, man. Link in the description below. Listen, get back to y'all's episode, man. I'm going to see y'all later. See you in the free class. Just give me the cheat code. So in the Web3 space, essentially what it sounds like to me is one of the biggest gaps that we probably and most likely are facing currently is a lack of skill set, education in the skill sets, right? Because in order for us to be able to build what we need to build in space, if there's not enough people around that can actually execute it, or that are, occupied with other things, like you said, it sounds like our thing really is to be able to, get that information into the hands of the people in our culture, in our community, who want to pursue it, right? Like people want to learn how to be the engineers, want to learn how to be the Ethereum developers, or the, whatever it may be in that space, right? So are there any programs that you know of, or any resources that you know of, where the average person can go in, educate themselves on the technical skill sets of the Web3, not just understanding what it is, but really learning how to do it? Because I know there's not a whole lot of college courses out in order to do this type of thing.
Where's my phone? I wish I had my phone. I want to give you the specific name of the coding program that you're supposed to use when it comes to Web3 that people are using right now.
Solidity?
Solidity is one of them, Solidity is really one of the most common used ones that people are getting on, right? That would be like the Python or some of the other ones in Web 2 coding. And really just getting into coding, period, right? Because one skill translates over to another. It's really the same thing. Right. But not only just coding, but design. You understand me?
I was going to say the design aspect.
Design is super key. So coding and design thinking should be the main things, because we're going into this place where it's generative, where even being a coder won't even be the most necessary thing. The designer is going to be the most necessary, because you have an idea, right? It's in your head, but you need somebody to design it out. And then that designer communicates with the algorithm, communicates with the coder or even the generative coder nowadays, right? But the design is going to make the difference between everything, that user interface, actually taking that ideal and scaling it out, right?
Literally going to translate or directly translate what the user experience was.
That's who's making all the money right now.
It's
Right. Designers.
The designers.
You understand me?
So if you're out there, that's the cheat codes. The design. If you want to pick up a skill set, pick up some design skill set.
Listen, how we gonna have our own world if we can't design it?
Exactly.
You understand me? Everything in our world is based on someone else's design.
That's a fact.
Everything we interact with.
So we have architectures, which is essentially the design of the thing. The engineers who actually facilitate the thing,
make it work,
and then the builders who actually tangibly build it out. So those are. It sounds like those are the three components that we need in order to really, get ahead in this particular space.
You all heard of generative design, right?
No,
I'm not familiar.
So generative art and generative design, a lot of people doing the generative art where you just put a code in and it generates art for you.
Oh, yeah, like NFT space.
And shout out to my bro, Crypto. He had a program he was showing me with generative art where you can put in certain words, you can put in a style of a certain artist, and it would generate an authentic, real, original piece based on these words that you put in there.
Wow.
So as creative you can get when understanding the machine, you can actually create original pieces of art.
Now, is this a tool that you purchase or a website that you go
It's not available to everybody right now, so you got to tap into 19 Keys.
Yeah, that's
I give you the plug.
We need
that cheat code.
I put the pieces together, man.
Yeah.
Man, Chico we gotta get a million together, man.
Definitely
That's how we get to know each other.
Nah. If you out there, the cheat code. When we get the cheat code, don't worry,
but
man.
listen,
Y'all know.
generative design is something people can look at right now where instead of so imagine you want to create a new type of helmet for a motorcycle, right? So what you're going to do is you're going to talk to a machine that does this, right? But you have to be as detailed as possible with every aspect, and the machine will spit out 1,000 different ways that this helmet can be made, right? Where it can be made cheaper, lighter, whether it can be more aerodynamic,
safety,
all of these different ways. And then once it give it to you, it's like a communication. All right, this is what I want to change. This will fit better. And the machine, as it works with you, the algorithm improves the design.
Machine
learning.
Right. So it's not about you being the architect or being the engineer. You have to be the best designer. Can you communicate specificity, right? And understand the machines enough so that when you putting in the design application and or instruction, so that the computer can work the best it can possibly do.
Yeah, you know what's interesting about that, man, is that's how it is in the real world in general. You know, even as CEOs and entrepreneurs, it's about being able to have the vision, craft, and then communicate that vision clearly to those who are on the team in order to execute it, right?
Look, I'm going to give y'all some, listen. I put out this maybe 2 years ago because I was doing mobilization, automation, digitization. An acronym spelled MAD. I said we're going into a MAD world, right? Everything mobilized, automated, digitized, right? Of course, we live in that now. So I was teaching VR in that class, right? Because I was explaining this is the world that's coming up. And I told them you can use this as an investment thesis, essentially, right? If this is the world that's coming up, go invest in the businesses that will be best suited for that or have business models in these areas. So, but then I also put it's the mad world that builds the SADs, right? Stress, anxiety, depression, suicide. The more we go into this automated world, the less we're able to capably handle the real world and our internal world. So it was what skill sets will be valuable in the automated world, right? So, of course, imagination, creativity, project management, storytelling, communication, design. Anything that can be automated will be automated. Anything that can't be automated will be the most valuable. You understand me? So those core human skills of empathy, design, and things of that nature, those are the most valuable ones to add.
Because they can't be automated.
They can't, because 70, 90% of the jobs that our children gonna have haven't been created. And the creators go create them.
So you said, run that phrase back to me one more time, man.
Anything that can be automated will be automated. Anything that can't be automated will be the most valuable.
So things like innate sense, sixth sense, being able to see visionaries will essentially be the rules of the world.
Idea people.
So let me ask you
creative capacity is the most valuable.
How does one increase their ability or their capacity for those type of skill sets, those intangible skill sets, those visionary, communicative type of skill sets?
Practice, right? So it's like creativity is something not that you're born with, it's something you do. Creativity is literally a skill set. Like you can practice becoming more original through the practice of uncommon response, right? So like every time somebody, like I always use the door handle as one of the most easiest ones. The door handle is built a certain design. Every time you deal with it, either you got the door handles that slide, the ones that go left, lefty-loosey, righty-tighty, however it was called, right? That's a design thinking. So it forces your reaction towards things.
Right. Push, pull.
So every time I go to a doorknob, I want to imagine how could I design this different? Could I design one that go up, one that pull out, one that's a digital pad? It's forcing you to think outside the box that's been constructed. Forcing your mind to start breaking barriers to where the child, they say that between the ages of 3 to 4, the child, most children have 90% of children test highly creative. By the age around 9 to 11, you understand me, only 4% testing that highly creative still. Because we don't continue build creative capacity. We learn technical thinking. So technical thinking is if I tell you to draw this and you draw it exactly, you use a technique. It required no creativity, it required no emotions, nothing, right? Instead, if you take John Basquiat and you tell him to do the same thing, he's going to paint this bottle, but he's going to do it with a range of emotion. The more range of emotion he adds into it, the more abstract it becomes. So it's abstract thinking, meaning it's more creative.
Right.
Because he's not looking at it as is, he's thinking of it what it can be. Right? And the different ways it can be done. So the creative thinker is always questioning everything, like a child. A child said, why we got to do it this way? Why we got to do this? Because the child brain has not been acclimated and assimilated to society. So once it do that, it becomes rigid in its thinking. And we have a society now where the average age is 40 years old. We becoming older, and the problem with an older society is rigid thinking. You understand me? So that's where we have these gaps. So whether you're practicing empathy, whether you're always using an exercise of putting yourself in somebody else's shoes, right? And that's another thing they say metaverse helps with, because it allows you to experience the world in other people's avatars and experiences. So I practice empathy. I'm very empathetic. I can't help it. I can always see and feel things from other people's perspective. But if you build a business like that, that's where customer experience comes in. Right? The most empathy-driven business at first was like a waiter. You understand me? A waiter has to always think about the feelings of the customer in between the waits, right? I wonder if they want something else. So it's uncommunicated needs that you add into the business. And the uncommunicated needs is not one that a customer always know. But if you see certain complaints all the time and you say, let me add that into the business model, right? And then the customer feels better, like some reason I like this experience or this business better. And didn't realize you was taking care of a need that they had that they couldn't communicate.
100%.
And that's where empathy comes into that design.
So you dropped about, I want to say about 6 keys within that whole time frame there.
Easy keys.
And so like, you know, my interpretation of what I'm hearing and the way I process that is, first off, it reminds me of an exercise I do with my son. I've been doing it with him for years. Is every time we're driving down the street or anytime we're doing anything, I always ask him to think of a problem that he can solve in some way, shape, or form, right? You know, whatever it may be, if he asks me a question about something, well, how can you solve that problem a little bit better? Because I want to get him more into the entrepreneurial mindset of thinking. But, you know, taking it a step further, what you're saying is really even just constantly thinking of ways that you can, you know, interpret what it is that you're seeing in your own way, right? How can you make something better? So what I really would want to encourage everybody out there to really take heed to is, you know, practice what Keys is talking about in this particular case. When you see something, when you're doing something, think of ways that, you know, you would do it. Don't always look at it from the perspective of what it is, but what you can make it, how you can make it, you know, in your own way, right? And that's something that hearing you say now, bro, I'm definitely taking that.
We're
with
so
me
stuck
all the way
in condition response.
100%.
Reward or punishment is why we do most things in our world. And
100%.
the more rewards we do get for something, the more it conditions our behavior towards doing that more and more.
100%.
You understand me?
Right.
It's like I was looking at the plug the other day. It's like when the plug has been the same, the outlets have been the same for too long.
Too long.
But how many appliances and plugs have taken different shapes over the years? The plug only accounts as if you have this small little plug like how the TVs used to have, and both plugs can fit into one. But now we got these big adapters. You got the big clunky ones that now it's only one can fit.
And Apple is crazy doing
quick
that.
change
Think
would
about
just
it.
Apple
came out and with it changed the whole USB-C.
Yeah.
You know?
everything.
Why wouldn't
Design.
you just simply, number one, instead of having them vertical, you make them horizontal?
Right.
You understand me? It makes it easier for both to be able to fit into those components, but stacked on top of each other is bad design.
Right.
So there's a lot of things in our society that's just bad design.
Bad design. But never got
Sidewalks is
revisited.
bad design. Bus stops is bad design. Crossroads.
I never understood that. You telling somebody to
Everything.
turn the same time you telling me to walk.
Yep.
It's like, why?
It makes no sense.
It's
But then
green
when you
light,
go to
you got
different
somebody
countries, you see better
You see
designs.
design. That's what I was just about to say. Coming from a different country, like I've seen things like, you know, for example, the plug, you know, it's different. So it's like coming here and seeing the different designs and how society essentially operates, what the norms are.
Yeah.
You start to realize, I'm like, damn, like, you know, even though we're not a first world
You know
country,
what's missing?
there's some things that are
What's missing in American design is empathy.
Yeah.
Most countries design based on human beings.
Yeah.
You
Right.
understand me? And it's like when I was in the UK, shout out to the UK, I'm going back this month.
Yeah, the end of the month. Man.
When I was
The
in
bros.
the UK, when you go up the escalator in the UK, right, whether you're getting off the tube or whatever, everybody stands to one side that's not going to walk all the way up.
Right. That's how you're supposed to. Yeah.
That's how you're supposed to. That's engineered, empathetic social
and
behavior.
social empathy. Yeah.
And in America, they don't care if they're not walking. Everybody is standing
Nobody.
in your way because Americans about taking up space.
Right.
It's not about, you know, and that's why everything in the UK for the most part is designed smaller as well. So you go to those little hotels, which I don't like. I got to get a big suite this time.
Right.
You understand me? It's so that it doesn't take up too much space.
Right.
But we have an egocentric based society, so we build it based on our ego.
Yep.
Everything being bigger, we eat bigger portions. None of it is empathetic towards health, society, mental health.
Nothing.
None of it.
Right.
And we don't
Based on
like
volume.
even they marketing is empathetic to where you can't over embellish in a marketing. It's illegal.
Right.
You can't have liquor ads or fast food ads too close to a school.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that just make sense?
Yeah.
It does.
You understand me?
And even driving that back to like even finance, just thinking back, like, you know, from Ghana to here is just like, man, it's just two different worlds when it comes to things like that. You got people that are back home that it's like you're happy with so little to the point that it's because you're not programmed to have so much that you don't need,
That's
right?
key.
It's not ego driven, right? You can have like, you know, $10, $100 a month and you'll be completely satisfied.
Right.
You'd be happier than you ever have been. Till this day, I still tell people I've never experienced the level of happiness I have back
That's a
home
fact.
until here. But here, it's like I've gotten to a point where, like, you know, of course, we're making crazy, you know, income financially, but it's like we always want more. But like we get to a point where sometimes we're like, all right, man, if this money was to translate back home, the level of, you know, happiness and like, you know, just comfortability that we will feel will be, you know, immensely.
And even back home,
People with everything are happy with nothing. People with
Exactly.
nothing are happy with everything.
Exactly.
But what's amazing about even what you're talking about is the opportunities that are back home. It's almost like not a blank canvas, right? But there's so much opportunity to continuously create a better design over back home because the opportunities are there. You got
You're
land
not boxed in.
by the dozen, and so
Energy, and that's in every aspect.
Right.
and we can see what didn't work here and other places in first world countries and things like that, and go back. And that's why it's most critical for us to take these concepts that we're talking about now and migrate those over to where we have those opportunities, whether it's the meta, and like we talked about yesterday, you know, Africa is the first metaverse. To be honest, it's almost like
100%.
so the
Africa
opportunities to create
is the most
there.
prime to me because everybody's talking about, well, India, y'all not listening. The idea is to implant the vision, number one. So never go against a better vision, right? And Africa is prime for the blockchain. It's prime for a better infrastructure because, as you said, it's not an existing one.
Exactly.
When you have an existing infrastructure, you have to tear it down, then rebuild.
Exactly.
So even our energy infrastructure is old and outdated. And you go to other countries, and they have better models where, you know, now the electric companies are not the one providing it. They manage the energy.
Yeah.
And each house becomes their own grid. And whatever they don't use, they can
Decentralized energy.
sell and lend to the next house.
Decentralized energy.
It's prosumership, creating and producing what you consume.
Exactly.
So it'd be harder in America to tear down the existing infrastructure, build a better one, because we got to get rid of all of this crap that we got.
And it's also mentally fighting everybody's mental block of like, okay, this is what we know. This is how we've been doing it for hundreds of years. Of course, hundreds of years. And this is how we got to reprogram everybody's mind now. Reprogramming everybody's mind, honestly, to me, I feel like will be the hardest uphill battle.
Well,
Going
you know,
back
people,
home is like,
people would change based on environment. People don't have that much power over the way they think.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Everything that you do is thought for.
I mean,
you wake up, electricity, your food, this and that, everything is already done for you here.
We organisms are reactions.
So if you just got in the market within the last 2 years, I'd say one of the most powerful things that you can equip yourself with is a community of like-minded people who are in the market day in, day out, looking at things that you might not be looking at. So make sure to tap the link below and join the Cheat Code community today. We have stocks, Forex, futures, and crypto. Any market you can think of, we got a community for it. See you guys on the inside.
Just give me the cheat code.
So let me ask you this, man, to even kind of bring it even to the people today, right? And the ability for people today to advance their status, their, income level, their, well-being, right? Utilizing blockchain, Web3, metaverse, and obviously NFTs being one of the biggest things this past 2021, booming onto the scene, right? How is it that you see things like NFTs, right? How can one, obviously we know people out there minting NFTs, making money off NFTs, things like that. But what is it that makes NFT space such a profitable venture for, people to get into? And this is something that you think that everybody should be getting into, a select few should be getting into, influencers, musicians, or is it something that, is just all the way across the board? Everybody should have some type of hand in.
Everybody should get into NFTs. Everybody will be into NFTs, right? It's like asking, should everybody own a domain on the internet? You understand me? Yeah, everybody should start their own website, right? That represents either your brand or your business that you're doing. I think NFTs is the same exact thing. Everybody should have their own NFT project that represents their brand, their business, their product, their service, or whatever else that they want to do. IP or domains was the first ownership of the internet, right? It was the one thing on the internet we could own. If I get this.com, 19keys.com, you can't own that same one.
Yeah.
You can't. You got to get .net. You know what I'm saying? You got to get them secondaries.
Yeah.
Shout out to cheatcode.com.
Yeah, cheatcode.com. I know y'all paid a pretty penny for that.
Yeah, we sure did.
You understand me? Because somebody else owned it.
Yeah.
Right.
It was digital real estate that someone else owned. So NFTs is the same thing. Now it's just expanded. That same concept can now be expanded in multiple categories, in multiple levels of intellectual property, service, and ideas. So in a simple way, right? Keisha do hair somewhere, right? And she wants to start getting into NFTs. I look at, in the future, I think NFTs on the front end, the art just be product pictures. The back end is the value. What does this product picture unlock, right? So at the end of the day, if Keisha that does hair wants to sell her service as an NFT, she'll take a picture. We go to the barbershop, they got, the number 42. You understand me? Keisha can have the same thing. Hey, you want to get braids? And then it's a time slot that's connected to this NFT. You buy this NFT, you just bought that time slot. It is yours. Now, if you wanted somebody, let's say another customer wants to get that same time slot, they could probably buy it from you. Instead of buying it from Keisha and she having her counsel a client, instead now they going and saying, damn, who bought this time slot? Let me check this address. Then they go send a bid in for that, right? So now that they can buy in. So imagine even if, it allows so many different ways to even do that, because imagine if this person really don't want to get their hair done, but they bought that time slot because they know people be late in buying those time slots.
Right.
So now Keisha still gonna get paid, but it creates a secondary market where people can sell her services for. So she's saying, look, I'm only putting out 100 slots that's represented in 100 NFTs. Whoever buys them, right? Now somebody be like, I'm buying 10 of these slots because I'm gonna sell them on the secondary market.
Right.
I looked at the numbers and women be late. Sometimes they got emergencies. Or you could just be
practical use case.
You could be a assistant of somebody. So you buying that slot, right, for your client, or you buying 10 slots and then you preferring this person over. Like, listen, I'm sending you this NFT. This is your slot right here, right? So now it becomes in scheduling, right? Now it becomes in appointments and things of that nature. And then the secondary market starts to open up where other people want to sell your services for you.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of just buying shoes and doing that on the secondary market, you can do that with everything now.
And the nice thing about the
And
secondary
that one
market,
just came off top of the head.
Yeah, I was about to say,
and the nice thing about the secondary market is that you now can also earn royalties from that same item on the secondary market, paying you in perpetuity for forever.
Right.
Which
So you put in your base of what you want to get paid and then let the market do the work.
And I think that's one of the most powerful things. 'Cause when you look at NFT projects, like I seen this one project, these the little rock NFT, right? Or even something like CryptoPunks. I remember CryptoPunks in 2017, 2018.
Yeah. Oh, man.
And CryptoKitties, same thing. Nobody was really paying attention to those things, right? And then it was like out of nowhere, people created the CryptoKitties, CryptoPunks, and out of nowhere, boom, now they multi-million-dollar projects. Those creators are still getting paid royalties from that, even if their intention was not to make it $1 million thing. Later on, for whatever reason,
they was giving them out for free.
Exactly.
They couldn't have imagined this space would have grown in the capacity that it has. Nobody imagined
astronomical.
Nobody imagined it would have grew as fast the way it did. I mean, I predicted it a couple years ago, but that's nothing.
That's the power of of social media and today. How information just spreads.
Right.
Speed is crazy.
And COVID really boomed things up. COVID changed the rules for the digital space.
Yeah.
That it made the digital space 1,000 times more valuable than it ever was. You understand me?
It showed everybody that it could go down anytime. Real world scenarios. I mean, anything that we thought was not possible to be reality was proven or disproved during COVID.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
It allowed us to break our foundation of what reality was.
Right.
100%. So now, for the average person coming in, they want to create their NFT, right? They're going to take a picture or image, whatever that may be. They're going to utilize a site like, an OpenSea or something like that to what we call mint, correct? They mint that NFT. Do they need to have a developer create smart contracts on the back end or anything like that? Or do they just put it out there and make the rules for that NFT on the back end of their business, just, conceptually, but not necessarily via smart contract?
It's going to depend on their budget. If you got the ability to hire somebody and add things into the smart contract, that's the best way to do it. It's like, you got to understand though, with like Rarible and like OpenSea and some of these platforms, you're putting it on their contract, right? So essentially they own all the IP that's under their contract.
Right.
Now they give you the option to create your own contract. When you create your own contract, then that's IP that you own and anything connected to that you own. Right? And this is where a lot of people make a mistake on there. They mint their NFTs and they mint it under a Rarible contract. Right? So let's say Rarible decides to destroy their contract and burn everything they can. When it's under your contract, Rarible can't do nothing about it.
So it's almost centralized still.
It is.
To a large degree.
And that's, but to that point though, that's because it makes it cheaper for the average person to be able to mint under theirs because creating your own contract costs.
Right.
You understand me? So I created my own contract when I just did Crown Society. I wanted all that IP under mine, right? So if I want to go change anything or do something with that, I can. If I want to add things to it, I can. Because I look at Rarible, I said, how does Rarible have $1 million in sales? Then I realized that every contract that's under them is being counted in those sales, right? So the homie gave me that game, and of course I ran with it because I want to have control over my data. That's the whole point of the Web3 in the first place.
100%.
I'm not going to interact with it the same way I did Web2.
Right.
So yes, you would have you would create your, either hire somebody to do it the right way. The lazy way still works, right? Don't get me wrong. Like there's many projects that did 6, 7, 8 figures, right? Multiple different ways. Now I will say this. Mark Cuban just got in trouble, right? Because he owned NFT, the Instagram channel NFT. And a lot of people, I call them what I call punk ass NFT projects. Punk ass NFT projects are projects
Just pushing them out
that have no value, won't be around in the future, all market based. You understand me? And they really not real. And you go spend your money on it, you go lose it. You understand me? Yeah. So NFT platform was doing just that. People were paying them to do pump and dumps. They paying $25,000, and then people weren't even getting their right marketing. So they have put it on there, then they have flooded. So that the moment that they post theirs, they have flooded with another 5 posts that ain't got nothing to do with their project.
Oh,
So they
man.
wasn't even getting their value.
I see.
So people
Trying to
buying
dilute.
into projects that's being rug pulled and dumped. So they got in trouble. So one of the biggest things is protect yourself in this space. You understand me? And learn actually how to get educated and find projects. I find the best way to do that is to be a part of a community. Right? Like
1000%. People you can trust.
and that's in every space right now.
Right.
Like
Right.
I don't care what you learning, whether you in stocks, whether
That
you in
is a
crypto,
cheat code right
whatever
there.
it is,
Yeah.
be a part of a community.
be, yeah.
The community sense is here's the most valuable thing in the community. You know, one of the best ways to learn, and you know you master something when you can teach it to somebody else. In the community, there's always going to be somebody who knows less than you, and it's always going to be somebody who knows more than you.
Right.
Yep.
You understand me? And this was truly how school was supposed to be in the first place.
Right.
So these are the new college campuses, right? But the difference is the classroom that we grew up in was a master-slave paradigm, where it's like you got one person over everybody telling everybody to think.
The same
And if you
thing.
study off somebody else's test, you're cheating.
doing-
You understand? You can't get the cheat codes in school.
No,
You understand me?
yeah.
So
It's a fact.
now
No
we're
way.
saying that, no, I'm supposed to learn from my brother.
Right.
I'm supposed to learn from my sister. We're supposed to share
Share information,
information
right.
and knowledge
Each one
with each
teach
other.
one. Yeah.
And if I'm in a class with everybody who has the same level of knowledge as me, then I can't learn from my peers. They got the
Exactly.
same level of ignorance and intelligence.
Right.
But in the tribal sense, I got an elder, I got a younger person in here. So now we sharing different perspectives, opinions,
And experiences.
and IQs, everything.
Right.
So that's the best way to learn is in the community.
100%, man. I say it all the time, bro. Even something I talk about a lot is having certs, right?
Yeah.
And I call certs, community, education, resources, and tools,
Yeah.
right? If you have the best community, being that you got people around that care to educate you, care to share with each other and are open and actually are moving together, that's one thing that's going to set you apart on the path to success. You got education, the right source of education, the right places, the right information. Again, another one, resources where you find the engineers, the architects for your projects and what you may do, and then tools like the generative art tool you're talking about. You can combine those things to become a certified individual, right? You become
certified cheater.
You become a certified cheater, whatever it may be, right? So
Yeah.
You said certified cheater?
certified cheater.
Give me the codes on that one.
That's what we call it. We call the cheat
Oh
code.
man, I ain't
community,
gonna lie.
cheat,
I thought that was like some African
Nah, he said certified
chieftain.
cheater.
Like
My
man,
said,
I
"Where I
thought
get
it was a
that at?"
lingo, man. You
Hey,
become
man, I
you
got
become
you.
a cheater, bro. You know
There's
what
a
I'm
few of
saying?
those I'm gonna give you. You know what I'm saying?
Facts,
Yeah.
facts,
Nah,
facts.
stay
I thought I
tuned on
just
that.
caught some
There's
new
a
codes.
whole underlying on that, but
Facts,
we're gonna
facts,
find out
facts.
soon. That's a whole cheat code of its
Certified
own.
cheater. That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. Nah, that's dope, man. So I think you gave a lot of good gems, a lot of stuff to process and think about. I think everybody listening to this, you got to make sure that you are thinking in terms of design. You got to make sure that you are thinking in terms of the future because it's gonna come whether you want it to or not.
That's a
Right.
fact.
You know what I'm
It's
saying?
here.
That's one thing about it, man. You may not like the metaverse. You may think it's confusing. You may think it's, it's some bullshit. I'm gonna tell you like this: when my brother first told me about Bitcoin in 2010, that motherfucker was
Same.
probably about $10 a coin.
Right.
And I thought he was out of his mind. He was into all types of stuff he wasn't supposed to be into, and he knew about these things. And he's always somebody who thought futuristic. We all thought he was crazy. You know what I'm saying?
right.
He's talking at the time he's playing these games and stuff. I'm like, man, you tripping, man. So I ain't paying no mind. Next thing you know, it's $600, $700. I started paying attention. It's $700. And then it passed gold in price, and I was like, damn, this is something I need to buy into. I bought my first Bitcoin at $1,000. But at the end of the day, my brushing it off
Opportunity
cost
cost.
me. The opportunity cost was
Massive opportunity
tremendous.
cost.
We've already missed crazy opportunities. You've seen projects like Crypto Punks. You've seen projects like Bored Ape and thought that they were crazy, thought that they were stupid, thought that they were this, that, and third, and you've watched those opportunities pass. Make sure you guys are not missing opportunities. Make sure you're thinking in the future. Make sure you guys are paying attention to what's happening in the market. And Keys even gave a gem yesterday that y'all weren't really privy to, but I'm going to drop a little bit of it, was just that anytime you see people around you that aren't where you want to be, anytime they look at an opportunity and whatever, however they interpret it, you want to go ahead and do the opposite. You know what I'm saying? You want to go ahead and do the opposite. Look into things. If they thinking that this thing is stupid and they not where you want to be in life, You need to go follow the people who are where you want to be in life and go do what they doing.
Right.
People, we watched the Zuckerbergs, we watched the
all of it.
Cubans hop into the NFT space, and we still was being hesitant
Gary
on it.
Vee,
You know what
all
I'm saying? Even those like yourself, you know what I'm saying? You were heavy on it early.
Mm-hmm.
We got to. That's the only way we're going to make it out of this game. You know, is to be able to push this out. And one thing I love about the metaverse space, I love about investing as a whole in general, is it does not matter race, creed, or color. You know what I'm saying? It's all about your ability to see the opportunities, take advantage of the opportunities, and put yourself in the right position in order to profit and make something happen for yourself. So
That's a fact.
I think, bro,
that's dope.
you definitely dropped it on us, man. You dropped all the cheat codes, you dropped all the keys on us.
Yes, sir.
All 19 of them things, man. I appreciate you, bro.
Appreciate
as
y'all.
always, bro.
Yeah, man. Nah,
You know?
for sure. Yeah, man. Get out there. If you're watching this, make sure you get out there. Get acclimated with design. Do not miss this cheat code
That's
right
a
here.
fact.
Get
Major
acclimated
one.
with design. Design is going to be the future. Like, the coders, how people are getting paid $500,000 in Silicon Valley just to code.
Mm-hmm.
Designers are next up. They're actually here right now.
Yeah.
So if you get your design work, get your design mindset right, you're going to be fruitful in the next generation to come. The next 5 to 10 years
fact.
is going to be exactly where you want to be. Do not miss it. All right, man. Thank you, Keys. Where can
No,
they find you,
appreciate
man?
Man.
For the audience.
Instagram 19_keys.
Yes, sir.
Podcast 19 keys. YouTube 19 keys. Everything else is 19 keys. Make sure you come find the real one though.
Hey.
And the text list, man. You can't forget
Yeah, the text list
There you go.
323-577-6692. I sometimes just send out news, updates, alerts, motivational quotes, inspiration, access to things that I don't put out on the clear net. You understand
Right.
me? You go get by being on that communication chain.
For sure.
Man.
Yeah, man. Tap in.
Look,
Tap in.
Gotta tap in, man. Make sure y'all tap in with 19 Keys if you ain't already. I know a lot of you already are out there. This
Right.
man is the man to follow out there when it comes to this space. So, but if you're not, make sure you do, bro. So I'm
Sure.
gonna see you guys on
Man,
the next
appreciate it.
episode of Cheat
Yeah.
Code Unlocked. Stay tuned, man.